Gets carried away. Start again. So you can hear me this time round. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to today's Licensing Committee meeting. I am Councillor Jeremy Cottam, the chairman of the committee. I'm supported today by members of the committee who are Vice Chairman Councillor Paul Dick and Councillors Phil Barnett, Billy Drummond, Paul Kander, David Marsh, Stephanie Stevenson, Clive Taylor, Martha Vickers, and in attendance, Justin Pemberton. Supported by the officers, by Miss Julia O'Brien, Mrs. Moira Fraser, are the officers who will be advising me at the meeting. And Ben will be assisting. Now, he's not down here. Oh, yes, he is here. Benjamin Ryan is in attendance as the clerk of the committee, and the Zoom host is Sam Cheverton. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube, so members of the public are able to follow proceedings. Please, can I ask everyone present in the meeting area to make sure when speaking to be loud and clear so those at home can hear you. Can I also, may I also ask you to make sure that you have put your mobile phones to silent and have turned the sound off on your tablets. If we hear the evacuation alarm this afternoon, we must leave the building immediately. Please proceed via the safe emergency exit route, which will be shown to us by trained officers. Please follow any instructions given by the trained officers. The assembly point is in the Dolphin car park. Anyone requiring help will be assisted accordingly by the trained officers. Do members have any questions about the way in which this meeting will be conducted before we proceed? No. Thank you very much indeed. Apologies.
Chairman, we've received apologies from Councillor Jane Langford and Councillor Nigel Foote.
Thank you very much indeed. So we come to item 2 about the minutes. I will move the minutes of the meeting of the Licensing Committee held on the 8th of July 2024 to be signed as a correct record. I understand that the information about keeping animals for exhibition was sent to Councillor Marsh. There are now 5 holders of this type of license. Yes. Okay, if we go back, the current licenses for this activity are Buckleby Farm Park and Farms to EU Mobile Farm. I said that one without stuttering. The 3 Little Hooves, 4 Ray Pryor Falconry, and 5 Zoo Lab Berkshire. So are there any questions or comments on the minutes? Otherwise, I will ask for a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. So ask for a show of hands to agree that I can be signed, please. Great, thank you. Thank you. Right, we move to item 3. Ask if anybody has any declarations that I'd like to raise. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, Chair. I am a signatory for a small lottery that is registered with West Berkshire Council.
Right. Is it in your interest or just a private interest?
I think I'm just a signatory, you know, to help with admin. I don't think I have any other interests. I don't think it's...
I don't see it as a problem, unless I advise otherwise. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, Councillor Pemberton.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have sought guidance from the monitoring officer as to whether or not it would be proper for me to remain on this committee, because obviously I am now the portfolio holder for licensing. And whilst this is a quasi-judicial body, there is an obvious risk of me championing policies on the one hand and then voting for them here on the other. So I haven't had an answer back yet. And at the time of speaking, I've been told there is no issue with me remaining on this committee. But what I would probably suggest is that the items that we're going to discuss today, I may speak, but I won't vote if that's acceptable to you.
That's fine. We do in the past have had executive members at the discretion of the chair speaking. So I don't see a problem, but I will ask the officers to further investigate and come back to us on that one. Thank you very much indeed. Fine. If we go to item 4, the adoption of the revised statement of licensing policy principles under S349 of the Gambling Act. If you look at Gambling Act 2005, pages 13 to 66, I will ask Moira Fraser to please introduce the report.
Good afternoon, members. I'm happy to talk to you this afternoon about the consultation. If we've got any specific queries around the policy itself, then I'm going to ask Julia if she'll be able to respond. You will recall that we brought a report to the July meeting seeking permission to go out to consult on some of the very minor changes that we had made to the policy, which is due to expire in January 2025. As agreed, we undertook an 8-week consultation between the 18th of July and the 12th of September. We received 6 responses to that consultation. While the number of responses seems low, it's significantly higher than the 2 that we received when we consulted on the previous iteration of the policy. 3 of those responses were supportive of the amended policy. 1 sought clarification on the wording in relation to exempt lotteries. 2 responses focused on the definition of vulnerable persons in the statement, and a query was also raised about mandatory training for staff in gambling premises and the authority's objectives to permit the use of premises for gambling. As a result of the consultation, we are proposing to add in some additional wording about the exempt lottery in the glossary of the appendix to the report. In terms of the responses received around vulnerable people, we are proposing that the following wording be added to the penultimate paragraph of section 2.4. And the proposed additional wording is noting that people who struggle with gambling addiction may not necessarily or automatically be defined as vulnerable. In terms of making the training mandatory, it is noted that it is a mandatory requirement for all staff that work in gambling premises operated by the Gambling Commission to receive training. The Gambling Act expressly states that conditions cannot be attached to licenses issued by the licensing authority relating to training, and we therefore cannot make it a mandatory requirement within the policy. We've therefore put in the most strengthened wording that we feel that would be acceptable without the ability to be challenged. In terms of the query raised about the council's objectives to permit the use of premises for gambling, it's noticed that the Act is a permissive piece of legislation that requires that gambling is allowed unless there is a good reason that it should not. That is, if it contravened one of the 3 licensing objectives. Members will recall for the Licensing Act 2003, there are 4. For the Gambling Act, there's only 3 objectives. Amendments arising from the comments are highlighted in red text on the proposed statement, which is attached as an appendix. I'm happy to answer any questions if members have any.
Thank you. It's just a minor, well, not minor, but just changes to the current policy. Are there any questions, Councillor?
Not so much a question, really. Just say I think that it's positive to see some more people replied through you, Chairman, and I think the suggestions you're making are eminently sensible.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Drummond.
Thank you, Chairman. And 4.3, it's got 4 bullet points so that people could reply. The chief officer of the area was asked his opinion, and on 4.7 it said the chief officer put 2 let me see where's that? Let's see if we can find it. 2 from Thames Valley Police. Were they positive remarks? Well,
The Thames Valley Police were one of the organisations that came back that were supportive of the policy.
okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Do I have a proposal, Councillor Dick?
So proposed, Chairman.
Is that seconded, Councillor Drummond? Thank you very much. And those 4, please. And it's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed.
Chairman, just to say that that's what you're doing is you're recommending to full council that they adopt the policy.
Yes.
It's one of the policies that they need to specifically look at the November meeting.
So it's our recommendation to full council, and that has been carried. Wonderful. That's great stuff. Thank you very much indeed. We move on to item 5, the licensing fees and charges, 25-26. Moira, will you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Chairman. This report explains how we have derived the fees which are proposed to come into effect on the 1st of April 2025. It seeks comments from the committee on those fees and also sets out the procedures for consulting on the specific set of fees that we have a duty to consult on under the legislation. The fees set out in the appendix to this report were considered by the Joint Public Protection Committee when they met on the 11th of October. The PPP charges two sets of fees. The first are a set of discretionary fees and the second is a set of statutory fees. In terms of the statutory fees, members will be aware that those haven't been uplifted since about 2011 in the main, and there are measures afoot going on behind the scenes to decide how we're going to go about lobbying government to uplift those fees to a reasonable standard. In terms of discretionary fees, these are set on the basis of the time that it takes the time taken to administer the fee multiplied by the hourly rate. A range of factors are taken into consideration when setting the hourly rate, including the wide variety of council support services, staffing and associated costs, democracy and governance, contracts, equipment, software, accommodation, and the necessary training to maintain a competent workforce. The JPPC agreed to recommend that the hourly rate be increased from £67 an hour to £69, which is an increase of 3%, which relates to an increase in the cost base and assumptions on salary charges in the main. All discretionary fees are set on a cost recovery basis, as I've said, and if a decision was made to freeze or reduce those fees, then the only way that could be implemented would be via a subsidy from West Berkshire Council. The legislation around taxi licensing requires that private hire operator and hackney carriage and private hire vehicle license fees are subjected to a 28-day statutory consultation period. We are proposing to undertake a consultation between the 21st of November and the 19th of December this year. The committee is asked to consider the dates and methodology of the consultation, which is set out in paragraph 411 of the report. Officers are proposing that we write to the trade, put up a notice at Market Street, put the consultation onto the website and support this with social media posts and press releases. It's also custom and practice at West Berkshire Council that consultations are sent to the community panel for a response as well. In addition, there is a requirement that the notice is placed in at least one local newspaper. We are proposing putting the advert into the Newbury Weekly News. I know that when we've discussed this issue in the past, that we have been asked about potentially putting the consultation into other newspapers. Given that we would probably raise around £5,000 with the 3% uplift in the fees, placing it in an additional newspaper that's going to cost between £800 and £1,000 doesn't seem to be the best way forward, in officers' opinion, but we'd be happy to be guided by the committee. The remainder of the fees would be subjected to any consultation undertaken by the council on the fees more generally. Again, happy to take any questions from members.
Fine, thank you very much indeed, and I thank all the officers for their thorough and hard work on this item. Are there any questions or comments? They've put it very succinctly and clearly.
Jim?
Yes.
Just to say, we've been asked to say what we think, and I think echoing what you've just said, and the only thing I said about newspapers, we all value our local newspaper. One is enough, and this day will come very soon when we won't be having this conversation, I fear. There we are.
Yeah, that's sad. But also,
yeah, I just thought I'd say on the newspaper, because I think we did debate this last year and I made, I think, expressed some concern, but I mean, I don't want to go over the argument again, so I'll accept what's been recommended.
Thank you very much. So I have a proposal.
There's other people. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't see your hands raised. Councillor Stevenson and Councillor Marsh.
Yes, just to say that I've followed the links just to see that they work, and they do. But where does this policy appear so that other people can follow the links on the website? Consultation.
So you're saying how would the general public or
Yes.
an interested bodies find that on our website?
Yes.
So when through you, Chair, when the consultation kicks off on the 21st of November, it will go onto the West Berkshire Consultation Hub, and that will it will include links as well that people will be able to click on. We'll also put it onto the Public Protection Partnership website. But in the main, we see that we tend to find that people go to the West Berkshire website for that kind of information.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, curiosity really, what take-up there has been of the 50%, well, actually 100% remittance scheme for EV and hybrid vehicles, which is referred to just you know where it is, page 83. Have there?
I understand that we currently have 38 vehicles in the authority that are either a hybrid or fully electric, but the vast majority actually are hybrid vehicles, not fully electric as yet.
Okay, so that's pretty good, Chair. Thank you.
It's moving in the right direction. You, Councillor Calendar. Thank you.
So in the absence of noise, Chairman, I propose that we follow these proposals as writ.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Drummond. I was looking. Sorry, keeping him under pressure. Thank you. And so those four, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry,
Right.
Chairman, could you just mark my abstention, please, and also on the previous item too?
Yes,
Thanks.
we will do. Thank you. So that recommendation has been carried. Right, we swiftly move to item 6. Members and officers, if they have any amendments that they would like to look on, well, we need first of all to look at the forward plan, don't we? So getting ahead of myself there. Do we have that available, the forward plan? Please. Well, just feel that normally, I mean, but it also would be available to the public if they're watching.
It would be. So it would be available to members of the public via the agenda. But yeah, we can get up.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk you through it. At the next meeting of the committee, which is on the 20th of January, we currently have listed on the forward plan that we are going to discuss the Hackney carriage tariffs. So the post-consultation version of the report that we brought to you this evening, if we do get any comments back from the trade. We would also be discussing the fees for taxi private hire. So we'll be discussing the fees from this evening, potentially any tariffs, if we get any tariffs from, if we get a proposal from the trade to increase the tariffs for 2025. As yet, nothing has come in from them. We did discuss this at the taxi trade meeting the other evening.
We did.
We're hoping to bring the taxi policy to the next meeting as well. Currently listed on the plan for the 20th of January is the street trading policy. Officers are proposing that we withdraw the street trading policy, that we'll bring it back later in the year, but we need to bring through the film classification policy. It was last looked at in 2016, and we feel that we need to bring it through and have another look at it and update that with members.
Okay, thank you. So are there any questions or comments? Councillor Drummond.
Yeah, can I ask when Councillor Pemberton's name will be on this? For the lead officer, portfolio member, because there's still Lee Dillon's name on it.
Ah, well spotted, you see. I knew there was a good reason to look at this. I will ask the officers to correct that omission. Thank you very much indeed. Well spotted. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, can I express my ignorance by asking, which is the next meeting that we're going to invite the taxi firms to? That's not the 20th of January. That's 20th of January is us here meeting. Moira, when are we going to have that meeting?
So we have the next taxi trade liaison group meeting is scheduled for the 6th of January.
I think you've sent some information out. And am I right in saying that we will perhaps do it face to face?
That we have booked the council chambers. So
because I actually think that's a much better prospect.
Oh, yeah.
Because people say other things online which they would not say face to face.
This is
Thank you.
a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, politely. Okay, so any other comments or questions on the forward?
I was just going to ask, Obviously, it's a general document through you, so we know about the 6th, we already knew that. We know about the 20th. Is it 4:30? And does this document commit us to any other meetings that we should make sure we have in our diaries now?
No, Chairman, I think we're just waiting for the 27th of November meeting before the taxi or the last full licensing committee meeting for next year are set at that November full council, and then we can add those to this schedule as well.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Dr. Belly, thank you. So I think that's it. We note that all the business has now been concluded, and thank you for your attendance. As we just mentioned, the next meeting is the 20th of January at 16:30 and 6th of January, but these obviously are to be confirmed by the full council meeting. Wonderful. With that, thank you very much indeed. If you just remain in place while the Zoom meeting is closed, thank you again for your attendance.